Welcome again, day two. You know, this this day will be because this is the day of salvation. Let me pray first so that we may all be. Lord, I thank you for this here, audience here and those out watching. May you reach inside of them and that part of what I'm speaking about touch their heart, such a way, change, love that you provide. I thank you, Lord, given this opportunity. May it be something that can be used for all who name of your son. You know, yesterday was a very interesting day because the first day I have these glasses, and they're new glasses, and I was so excited to get up here that I forgot my glasses. But you know, you want to look, hey, I'm okay. I can see, I'll make it bigger. But I couldn't. Once you get it into the presentation mode, you can't do it. So it's when I'm at work, it's easy because I just make things bigger. And the interesting thing is, there's a gentleman here, Mark, I like to say welcome. He works with me too. The other night we had another gentleman who works with me. I'll be honest with you, I'm the same every day. You can ask anybody who knows me. What you see in this place is how I am even at work. And even some of my bosses say, man, you know, the people that work with you, work for you, and I always say work with me, they respect you. It's not me that they respect. It's what's living inside of me that they respect. And I know that. So today, because of yesterday, we kind of talked about love, kind of brushed over it. And we talked about how you need to have that love and how you need to give yourself first to Jesus Christ and accept him and have faith in him and placing all your hope in him. This is how change is made in you. And trust me when I tell you, I'm going to give you some secrets to relationship that I've learned over the years. That woman, beautiful woman that I'm married to, she can tell you, I'm the same too at home. Nobody has ever heard me lift my voice. Maybe because my father, they called him Gentle Ben. His name was Samuel too. Late Samuel Benjamin Naylor, they called him Gentle Ben. He said that I was the biggest kid on the street, but I never wanted to fight anybody. I wanted to be peaceful with everyone. That's just me. God made me this way. So I'm going to do something different today. You know, when I used to preach at the Nazarene church, I used paper. And the reason I use paper is because when you put everything on the computer, it's so final. And the interesting thing is sometimes even on your way to the church, God says, oh, you know, maybe he didn't know a certain person was going to show up. And he says, oh, so-and-so is on his way. I want you to add this in there. Well, guess what? You can't add it in. You gotta kind of try to remember. And as you get more mature, hard to remember. And then after the service, there you go, oh yeah, I wanted to say X. Say it now. So first, I'd like to welcome those that are visiting and people that have returned to the church. you'll be glad that you return to the church, because this is the for returning to church. It really is. COVID on, even though we never had to worry about it anyway. If your faith was really strong, then you knew that this was just part of what was written in this book. And so you just say, well, if I go through that, he's still expecting me to do something. I think sometimes that's why I was able to go to war zones, because I knew that he could use me. He would use me as long as I was willing. And as I mentioned yesterday, when Jesus came, the ritualistic or religious component of being a Christian or a follower of Jesus Christ was removed from us. Now we should seek a relationship with him by understanding what he has placed, one, in this book, and what he has demonstrated through his son, Jesus Christ, who came to earth to dwell among us, to make sure that you couldn't get it wrong. You might be able to say, well, I read the 10 Commandments, and I see that I need to follow these things. The interesting thing about the 10 Commandments to me, first, I know I love God, so that is not a question. The rest of it, though, if I love you, I'm not going to do that. It's just the bottom line. You know, people have a tendency to say at work that I'm kind of a straight shooter. I say what's on my mind, and you always know what's on my mind because I speak the truth. Even when sometimes it's not so nice. But I will make it nice. I'll make it sound nice, won't I, Mark? But I'll still speak the truth. Because sometimes people need to hear the truth in order to behave differently or do things differently. So today, as we start, I like to call this a training towards relationship. And if you missed something, I wanted to offer this to you. When you see me, if you really want to know something more about something, trust me, I've taken this walk a long time, and I can tell you where to go and look for it. And if you want me to, we will sit down, read it together. Promise you. You know, there are so many people that have come up to me, even in this church. They say, can you pray for me? You know, meaning when you go home or when it's convenient. And I'll go, okay, well, let's do that now. I don't know about the next minute. Let's do it right now. I'll pray with you right now. Here, let's move away from everybody else unless they're willing to pray too, because we're two or more gathered, right? There he is with us. So with your relationship, which your relationship with God is very vital. It's vital. Make the connection first before seeking to do other things in your life. Anything. Your connection to God is first vital to understand it. So I'm going to start off with this video that I wanted to play, as I've done, that I was going to play it every day because there's a reason that I'm going to play it. Listen to what the man is saying. Understand it. That's why I'm going to play it so many times that you will.
Faith, hope, love. These three are of the highest calling, but these three are risky. Faith is risky. My mind demands that things be explained, demands that I reason, demands that I quantify. Like doubting Thomas, I want to touch or I struggle to believe. Have I seen God? No, I haven't. Yet here I am, remaining, persisting to place God at the center of my life. Though my eye has not seen him and my ear has not heard him, I persist. Faith, it's a risk. Hope, like faith, is risky. There may be grief, rejection, tragedy, suffering before today is over. I have no idea what the next hour holds for me. Yet here I am, remaining full of wonder, optimistic, persisting to believe God will do what he promised in his word. Belief that his will shall be accomplished in my life and in this world that is so full of tragedy. Hope. It's a risk. And like faith and hope, love is risky. I watch my son ski. Honestly, he's terrible at it. He's uncoordinated, he's clumsy, he falls, he gets hurt all the time, but he keeps at it. And love for me is like that. I'm uncoordinated, I'm clumsy, I fall, I hurt, and I get hurt. In fact, I'm far better at impatience. I'm truly gifted at keeping records of wrongs. I make a mess of my relationships. Yet here I am, remaining, like my son, persisting, daily attempting to do that which I do very clumsily, daring to believe that though I may fail at love, love never fails. Faith, hope, love. These three are of the highest calling. These three are risky, yet these three remain.
I'd like to add one more thing, that they are required. Really are. You know, I think a good example today is when you watch the politicians that we have governing our states, presidents, those type of offices, we elect them. We find that most of them are not truthful. They use excuses, like we do when we want to get our way. Well, that person isn't right to me. I don't need to be right to them. Not true. God says, love thy neighbor as yourself. Love your enemy. It's very clear. There's no option not to give love. There is an option whether you want to spend a lot of time with them, but you still have to give love, regardless. Because, sort of like the presidency office, if you're the president of the United States, as me as a U.S. citizen, I expect you to act presidential. I expect you to be honest. I expect you to go abroad and represent me well. I expect to be proud to watch you move about and do your business. Well, if you're a Christian, then I should see you representing God well, making Jesus Christ proud that you had decided to follow them. To me, that's when it makes a lot of sense. But it's not an easy task. Not at all. Because people in our humanness, we sometimes aren't so nice. Maybe we just had a bad day. I'm reminded of a day a long time ago when my son, he was about 8 years old. My son, you met him. That gentleman has always been right under me his whole life. Anyone that knows him and I, we are like this. He could finish my thoughts. He has a son, and he's raising him the same way. And I'm proud of that. But he's still got some learning. just like I did when I was his age. But the reality is that you have to be the type of person that would say, I'm representing him, and my son or daughter is watching me, and I want them to see what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus Christ. So if your son or daughter goes to another house or to school and says something inappropriate, maybe it's you. You know, some words, some action. Maybe that's something they saw in you. But if they went there and people come back, and of course we all like to hear this, boy, such a joy, such a mature person that you are bringing up in the world. It's awesome. And this one day I was working, so I have a business at home and at that time I was working at home and at work. And I was younger, so I put in many hours a day. You know how all of us have done this where you feel like, oh, I want to prove myself at work, and I also want to work to get enough money to take care of my family. And so we're doing this thinking that this is the way. The funny thing is I've found that the way is to just get right with God, and He'll lead you in the right direction, and the right connections, and everything will happen for you automatically. And as I mentioned the other day, is that even in your home seeking, if you say, Lord, I'm getting this for my family so we can get together and have times together, and He'll provide a place big enough for you. The interest rates drop to 1.9%, and now you're able to buy a bigger home, and your family can move in there, and the next thing you know, they go back up after you buy. Now, that is nothing but God. Nothing but God. Of course, I joined the VA. I did it through VA, but I joined the service because He told me to join the service. Every job that I've had has been a servant type job. Policeman, pastoring, chaplain. Even the job that I do now is a servant type job. And I realize that the people supposedly that work for me, I'm actually working for them. I changed it around. So my son, I'm working in my office, and he says to me, Dad, you missing it. Now, you saw his face. Can you imagine a guy coming up to your office door and he says, you're missing it? And I'm typing and looking. Missing what? He said, opportunity. Opportunity for spending quality time with your son. Now, all parents have been there, and you feel about this small because you think to yourself, I have been working quite a bit. But that young man also checked me on many other days without saying a word. I walked in the house. I used to work in Seattle at a place called Sound Transit, and I was over everything. And so when you're over everything, you have a lot of issues at work, and you think you can solve them all. And the funny thing is, if you have a relationship with God the right way, He's going to tell you how to solve it in your sleep. Really. Trust me when I say this. So I would come home frustrated. I remember I was working after work too. And then as soon as I walk in the door, now I got a little attitude. But when I see his smiley face, gone. That is amazing. So God gave me him in my times of weakness to release that. But the reason why I released it is based on what we were talking about just a little while ago and yesterday. It was the love in my heart for the young man. when you have love for someone, you truly release any anxieties against people you love. I had to, occasionally, my son was here, I think, New Year's with his fiance. And I share these stories because I really want you to get it. So, my son believes that everything that's mine is his, and he should be able to do and act as if it's his place. And, he actually kind of recedes back to living at home when he comes to the house. He leaves his wallet at home. He never takes it with him. That means I'm paying all the time. Because I learned a long time ago, as one preacher just told me, that when you take responsibility for the woman, that's why she takes your name. And then your children, you take responsibility of them, then you have responsibility for what they are doing and what they need to do always. Now, I do encourage them to do their own thing, and they do that. We separate it out. But he was doing something with something of mine, and after he's 29, so I'm not used to him being around all the time, and he wanted to do something, so he didn't ask, he just went and done it. And I said, how dare you just go and do that? It's my house. And he looked at me. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me and he said, and he walked away. And I went to my room, and that small, still voice said to me, go speak to your son. I said, what? He said, yeah, you're wrong. He's yours, and this all is his too. I do it with my wife. I went back in there. I said, hey, man, you've been out of the house for a little while. I'm sorry. You have the right. Hug me. Now, my brother, he thinks I'm too soft on him because my father was not the I love you guy. It was like, it's just understood. Now, with the girls, I love you. I'm thinking, where's my love? Where's my love at? Oh, because he was back then, people were a little homophobic. They didn't want to say, I love you, son. Even I remember my best friend, Ronald, the first time he told me, I love you on the phone, and I was in the military, and I was like, yeah, dude, I love you too. Men, we were like that. I love you too. Is there something wrong with that? I don't think so. There's a guy at work, I don't even consider myself really close with him, but he works for me through another person. And he always says, Sam, he obviously must know who I follow, because he says, Sam, hey man, thanks a lot. I love you, brother. Take it easy. Wow. Imagine so much love coming to one individual. Well, it was a hard road for that. I'm just going to share something that I decided to do some time ago that I felt started me on this road. Being a pastor was not, to me, in the cards for me. I actually avoided it. I did. There are a lot of people seeking it. Hey, can I speak? Can I do this? Oh, I want to do that. I want to do this. That is not me. Now, if you ask me to do it, I will. So I remember one day, because we used to go to church every Sunday, my brother, my youngest brother, not this one, but the younger one under him, we were all in the car, and back east, the women wear the big hats, the white hats, and, colorful feathers, everything, and we're riding home in the car. I'm telling you these stories because you can gather what's going to happen. So when we were going home, and of course my mother and father were up in the front talking, and my mother said, Miss Brown's hat just was inappropriate. And my younger brother, who's young, and of course he listens to the word every Sunday and everything, and he said, Mom, I thought we weren't supposed to judge. And you know, the older kid always go, you better be quiet. It's okay for them. And my mom actually checked herself because, you know, she was, at that time she wasn't a pastor. Later she became a pastor. She was an RN. And this is my stepmother who raised me. And it was so interesting because after he said that, I was like, wow, I never want to be a phony guy. You know, tell you that I love you, tell you that I like what you got on. So when I say you guapo, I really mean that, brother. No problem. Guapo is, you know, good-looking guy in Spanish, in Tagalog, and many other languages where Spanish influences on it. And so the first thing that I did in my adulthood life, going to church, I remember this in Seattle, I said, today, Lord, because I sit in the pews and I do things that other people don't do. I listen to the word. I make notes because I'm going to read it again after church and during the week to make sure that I understand it. Because just hearing it on Sunday, you might be energized. But imagine if you really get it, how much more energized you're going to be. And Satan tries to steal that energy. So the best way is to continually read. And if you don't want to, as my brother said here, you can play the Bible on any app. I used to go to sleep listening to the Bible. It's amazing the stuff. I think it's stuck in there somehow. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to practice not judging for 3 years. You know, when you were saying you was trying to challenge God and say, I want this, like in the Bible it says, wet it on the outside but not on the inside, and, you know, make like this, so let me know that it's you. Well, I said, I'm going to challenge me. I'm going to not judge, because we have a tendency, and I learned this in psychology, you know, I have a BS in psychology. I'm going to go so much further than that, telling you about me. And I'm not proud of it. I'm going to tell you why, too. My wife is proud of these things, these accolades that I've gotten, but these are man things. And sometimes the wrong reason is why you did certain things. Sometimes. So sometimes when people call me doctor, well, I never tell too many people that I have a PhD. Because sometimes people feel they can't talk to you. So notice my name is Sam. I love that, brother. Thank you. My name is Samuel, like in the Bible. And some people request that you put their name official. Well, that brother right there, I love him as if he was my own brother, Mr. Baum, Pastor Baum. Ever since he got here, he has felt love from me, I'm sure. And so he can call me Sam. He can call me Turan, which is my middle name. My family calls me Turk because the brother that you saw the other day, he started that. Because my father's name was Samuel, my grandfather's name was Samuel. So if you said Samuel, 3 people looking around doesn't work. So my father, they called him Benny, or Gentle Ben. But my grandfather, he was the real Samuel. So if you called Samuel, everybody's looking for the older guy to look around. Well, both of those guys are no longer here. They're late Samuels now. And at one time, I was not even proud of this name. I thought it should be something cool, like Jose or, when I was taking Spanish, and I said, well, what is my name in Spanish? Samuel. James was Diego. Wow, it changed up. What about me? So I said, well, I want to not judge for 3 years straight. And in psychology, they teach that most people get to know you or size you up within 5 minutes of meeting you, because we have a tendency to pass our business card. Your business card, your title, tells you what level of education you've acquired. And now all the young people, now they like to put all the initials and everything behind their name. And, my ideal is that if you got to do all that, who are you trying to prove yourself to? Because I have to tell you, when I'm in an office somewhere, everybody knows that I'm the title of who I am, but they just call me Sam. But they know that I am because I make a decision for all of us. All of us. But it didn't come easy. It's because God gave me the experience that I didn't have when I first got into middle management. I would be remiss to make sure that you understand that I am not advocating because I've worked the circuit with some of the TV pastors who, promise if you come up here with $100, you're going to get this blessing, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. Not real. But I promise you that if you give your heart to God, all of it, that He will give you your heart's desires. It's a weird relationship. It looks like you're going down when you're going up. That's funny how God works. You think, I'm being subservient. No. When you serving Him, He makes others recognize you. When the promotion comes up, He says to somebody who has power, well, consider my son Samuel. And they go, I never thought about Samuel. Hey, Sam, would you be willing? And of course, sometimes I felt uncomfortable about a new position that required a lot of responsibility, because I know that to whom much is given, much is required. I can't fake it. So they said, yes, would you like to take this new position, such and such? So I said, let me get back to you tomorrow. Because I've always had a good, close relationship with God. I can talk to Him. My wife thinks I'm crazy sometimes because I said, let me talk to God about that. Men, I think, do that a lot more. The ones that know I'm not really in charge. He is in charge. So then I said, Lord, what do you think? They were offering this job. And of course, I could use the money for the kids. Well, God already knows that. That's why He made the opportunity available for you. Remember I said He knew you before you were in your mother's womb? He knew He was going to make that person make that decision that day that he came to you and just accept it. This is the path that he has lit for you. And you're thinking, I'm not really there. I took the PMP. I got the PMP certification, the project management certification. I got that. I have this many years of leading people. On the police department, I was the sergeant of the whole watch. As the acting sergeant, the funny thing is he always placed me in those positions, even when I wasn't a sergeant yet. I was just the senior, officer. We're going to put Sam in charge of the whole shift. Okay, I can do this. Because they used to call me Smoothie at the police department. They said that if I talk to people, whether it be a fight between a police officer and a citizen, police and police, citizen and citizen, once I get there, everything's smoothed over. It wasn't Sam. It was God. When I get there, I shut up. This is something you should be taking notes. First, shut up and listen. That's how relationships start, listening. They say that he comes with a still, small voice. After a while, though, if you listen enough, it's a little bit louder. Because he don't want you to go down a path that you shouldn't go. And if you go down that path, it's like that mule, brother was riding, and the mule could see all the hazards and the fiery swords, but he couldn't see anything. That's bad when an animal sees something that a man does not, because he created us in his image. That's why it seems so odd. And I'm going to watch the time today, brother. I decided I wanted to be on time. But I didn't want to be too short. So increase your knowledge in Christ. It would enable you to have better relationships. The interesting thing is that also increase the knowledge of the people that you love close in your family, like wife or spouse, your children. Increase their knowledge too. My wife doesn't know this, but I think she catch on pretty fast. Sometimes I listen to Proverbs. I've always believed when I heard this saying that in all you're getting, get understanding. In all you're getting, get understanding. Brother Solomon knew what he was talking about. That's in Proverbs 4:7, if you want to write it down and you want to look at it. Wisdom is a principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. What does that mean? It means that in a relationship, there's two-way conversation. So if I'm having a conversation with you, then I need to take the time to understand you too, so that we can come together and come up with something that both of us can agree to. This is in your relationships at home, at church, at work. Especially after COVID, sometimes I believe that we just lost our minds during COVID. And I believe that some people who didn't want to have relationships with them, people, they used COVID as an excuse. Well, I can't shake your hand. They was quick to bump your hand, right? All of us, the other ones, is trying to, oh, I miss you. And then another one, I want to play this portion for you because he says it so eloquently. This is Psalms 46. Will this play the way that I set it up, or do I have to do something different? Uh-huh. There
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.
Okay. So the interesting thing listening to that, there's something that I have a number of friends that are pastors, and I always hear this saying, he has everything in control. Everything. I don't believe we believe that. The funny thing is that when your employer says, I'm going to pay you every 2 weeks X number of dollars for the year, you believe it. You place your hope in it because you sign mortgages for 30 years. You sign for cars for 7 and 5 and 6 years. You placed everything on that hope and the faith that your employer is going to provide that X amount of dollars every 2 weeks or every month or whatever, or bi-weekly. You know, they like the bi-weekly because you miss 2 paychecks, right? But when it comes to God, do we have that same hope and faith? I was almost very happily, pleasantly surprised when Enron didn't pay anybody. I was preaching during that time, and I said, wow, amazing. Enron did not pay. They went out of business. Well, now your faith has to be back on God. But I have to say one thing. Sometimes people's faith is so small, but God is still working for you and provided you a job that would give you increments of money to make sure that you are taken care of. Because he always provides the manna. He really does. When he says, I've checked all of his things that he said he's doing. And I can tell you today, at 62 years old, He is doing all those things and more, even when I'm not paying attention. That's amazing. I remember reading Isaiah, and it says, he goes before me, breaking bars and doing things. Wow. In other words, he's making my path easy. I'm just coming through there thinking everything is good. Because it is. I'm following him. He says, Sam, I need you to go over here. And you know the funny thing, if I sit still, sometimes he brings people to me. I think I've told this story once or twice here. I was on my way to Iraq, and I was working for Halliburton, and I was there going over. And there was a young man, he came to me and he said, I was in the hotel. And I was a pastor then. Guess what? I bought a big old Foot Locker of books. I said, oh, I'm going to Iraq. I'm going to just get into the Lord and read all these books and know and just have wisdom beyond measure when I come back. You know? God said, I got people that need you right now. So I'm just sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and a young man comes up to me and says, hey, I didn't know this guy. I didn't know his name. I didn't know anything. How you doing? Me? Yes. He says, I got a problem. I need to tell you about it. So I'm thinking, well, I'm not wearing a robe. Nothing saying that, Pastor Sam, Chaplain Sam, nothing. I'm just sitting here, minding my business, trying to read one of those self-help books, And he said, I left my home to take this job, and my wife was against it. But I felt that our family needed more than I needed my life. Because that's what he was saying. And if I do die, they would receive the money. I tell you what, though, my wife hates for me to talk about death. I'm not afraid of death. Not afraid of death. Obviously, because I've taken all these crazy jobs that send me places where death is there. But my faith is in God. And he said, what do you think I should do? I'm thinking, well, brother, didn't you walk down the aisle in front of a pastor and say, till death do us part, to honor, to worship, to do with all these things with this woman? I didn't take any covenants with you. And you here asking me what to do? Check with your resource at home first. I said, because I told a lot of guys this. If what it is that you want to do is so you're very convicted about it, we have 5 minutes, right? If you're very convicted about it, then what's the problem with the person that you say you love more than any other person other than you love God more, of course, than any person on this earth? Because if you love your wife more than God, you're going to take her. Trust me. You're not going to let anybody stand between him and you. So I learned love her after God. But what better person to run it by and get a consensus of what you both going to have to deal with from your decision than the person that you have decided to marry or cohabitate or whatever you're doing, because I'm not trying to get into your business. I just want to love you. Whatever you're doing, if you decided this person is the person with you, you should be making those decisions together. And he took the woman from this area of the man's body. You heard the term gut feeling. I'm kind of dating myself. Do anybody remember Bewitched? I know you do. I know you do. Larry Tate and all these people. Back in the old days when you do business with people, the men would invite their wives to go to dinner. Why? Because men, we are so hungry for money and we think that we know the answer that we need to have our wives to validate whether we should do that or not. So you eat dinner, a lot of things are done over breaking bread together. So you break bread with the person that you intend to do business with your spouse, and then your spouse gives you yes or no. Let me get closer to the end here, because I have a lot on my little paper. I said, forget about that. I'm going to go with this one. If you notice, it's a little more smoother too. So the Lord goes before you. It says it in Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Be not discouraged. Man, if only I knew this at 21. I knew it, but I didn't believe it. I didn't have that mustard seed of faith. I didn't get a chance to understand that everything that I read here in this book truly is true. So I'm going to go to the last portion of this, which is 1 Corinthians 13:4. And a lot of people wonder, my wife knows that I have this on the wall, and you do what you have to do to get it ingrained in you. It says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It isn't proud, it doesn't dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always preserves, always hopes, and always preserves. Preserves meaning that it doesn't always mean preserve like, how you preserve your stuff or in the refrigerator. That means against you. So when you have a relationship, sometimes you have to shut your mouth to preserve the relationship. Love never fails. Never. He said it's risky. You have to be willing to take the risk. You can't understand or give love unless you understand the fact that I have to be 100% willing to give the love, willing to accept all of these terms right here that I just read. And I have accepted them. And I challenge you in the week to come as we go through the rest of this lesson. Get this down. Read Proverbs. Get wisdom. The book of Proverbs, you can just listen to that. And man, so many things will just come to light. It teaches you when to speak, when to do whatever. So I like to end this by doing what I did last night. Those of you in this room that are seeking love, you are seeking to learn how to love. You want to love people more, despite yourself. You say, I want to learn to love and I want to be a better person in love with others. Can you come up and join me in a circle? Can we hold hands and agree? Sometimes we get stuck in the seats and we want to sit down. But there's no show. This is for us. Come on down here, brothers. You know you, my family. Get in there. Let's let one more in. Where's my man at? Come on, guy. We can't do this. Even if you stand in the middle, I need you. As we hold hands today, I want you to remember that this life is not your own. It is a life that God has given you to serve the people that you're holding their hand right now. Thank God he saw fit that you needed to live to this moment to do what you're doing right now. Even if you think, I'm not really doing much, sometimes your smile can motivate another person. Sometimes your ear can help them. Sometimes just a kind word of, I understand, will help. So we're going to pray. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity to build stronger relationships in this church. May you continue to allow us to set aside religious practices and have a relationship with you and the people you have created on this earth. May we serve one another because we desire to do so and be in right function with you, Lord. I thank you so much for what you are doing here today. And I know that we are moving in the right direction. Sometimes we just need to go the right direction, Lord. And when we get a little bit down the road, you'll tell us change and go a little to the left. We're going to listen, Lord. We're going to listen to you. And we're going to listen and love and understanding and peace and have all our hope and faith in you as we leave today and come back tomorrow. I thank you so much for this opportunity. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. And we are adjourned. We have tea in the back. So we have tea and everything in the back. You know, we love that lemon tea.